It's your tone, your energy, and your body language is the most important thing in that first 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds. If you can just establish like, ah, man, I like Sandro. He seems like a cool dude. Oh man, I like Jennifer. She seems awesome. That's all you want.
What is your perspective on like rapport? Like, how do you approach it? Do you look for like agreement, or just because it's kind of like so broad, and some people do it well and it seems authentic, and then sometimes it's you can see when people really miss it with rapport. So I wanted to see what you thought about that.
Oh, absolutely, man. That's a great question. So, if I'm being honest, I think most people overthink report. And so they think like, oh man, I have to really try hard to like, become likable and make this person like me and become their friend. And but that could be further from the truth, right? So like, I mean, the part that's further from the truth is you being their friend. As far as being likable, like the first reaction you want someone to have of you in the first 30 seconds, 15 seconds of the call is, man, I kind of like this person. That's the vibe that you're trying to give off is I just like this person, right? And I'll explain it to you this way, Sandro. So, like if you were to walk into a doctor's office, right? The doctor's a professional. And when you walk into the doctor's office, right, you're there because you probably have a problem, something's hurting, something's going on. You want to get it checked out, you're concerned, right? So there's some sort of problem that we're trying to solve um, if someone's going to a doctor's office, generally speaking, right? Unless you're there for a general checkup, usually just a routine thing. But most people, if they're not there for that, they're there because there's a specific thing going on. So the analogy I like to use is like imagine if you walked into that doctor's office and for the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, all your doctor's doing is talking about things related to not the problem that you're there for. It's a little bit like it's one thing for the doctor to come in and be like, "Hey, how's your family doing? How's everything been?" Um, real short, real sweet, but then usually the doctor dives right into diagnosing and understanding what's going on with you, right? Asking questions, and this is what we call the discovery phase of our call is asking deep questions to clarify pain points, right? Understand like what is the problem that they're having right now? And in our world in sales, it's like, why do they feel like they have to solve this problem now? What are the consequences if they don't solve this problem? What's going to help them solve this problem? And then what's the vision of where they're trying to go? So that's what we're trying to do in discovery. And that's where the doctor's asking you a lot of those deeper questions, trying to figure that out. Now, if you were to sit in that same doctor's office and 20 minutes in, 15 minutes in, you're still not talking about a problem and the doctor's still trying to be like buddy buddy with you and like trying to become your best friend, you probably get a little bit of concern. Like, dude, I'm here to get myself checked out right now. I'm not here to become your best friend, even though like it's cool. Like, hey, the report's cool, but you don't need to necessarily overthink it, right? So when it comes to report, here's what I'll tell you. In my opinion, it should be like 3 to 5 minutes at most. So it should be relatively short. How you doing? Where you based out of? How long you've been following this product, this service, this influencer, right? Okay, awesome, right? Maybe some weather chat, maybe some sport team chat based on where they're from. Super quick, super easy. And then, dude, just get right into discovery. Get right into diagnosing why that person is there. And doing that, like you'll establish a great likability factor right out of the gate. And once they like you in the discovery phase of the call, what we're trying to do is just get them to trust you. The way we get them to trust you is by asking really good questions. And by asking really good questions, we get really good answers, which starts really building upon that trust. So the discovery is really where you spend most of the time, right? So intro, typically 3 to 5 minutes, maybe even less. Discovery is going to be about 15, 20 minutes, right? And so it takes a while. It takes a while. Sometimes could even be longer, especially if you have a type of a person that's like not easily giving you information, right? They're very one word answers. It's really hard. And I like to explain it this way too, man. If you guys ever cracked like a walnut during the holiday seasons or whatever, or just in general, have you ever used a nutcracker, right? There's some walnuts that are just like, dude, you can crack them with your hand. Like you don't even need a nutcracker because they're just easy to crack with your hand. And then there's some nutcrackers where it's like, okay, you need a nutcracker to crack it, and now you're using this device. And then there's some nuts that are just really hard to crack. You need to use like two hands to freaking open that walnut, right? That's how some prospects are, man. It's like some are just easier and they'll give you all the information you want a lot faster. and others aren't, right? It's going to take some more deeper discovery. The way you'll know this is if you start getting surface level answers. And that's like, oh, I think so. Yeah, I believe so. Sure. Yeah. Right. And they're not talking anymore to that. It's just like surface level, surface level, surface level. And so if you get that, those are red flags because you don't want to move on into the close phase of the call unless you've determined there's a problem to solve. They understand why is the problem to solve the problem now? Why is the time to solve the problem now? What are the consequences if they don't do it? What's going to help them solve the problem? And what's the vision? So keep this in mind. Everyone on the call with you guys is there for one reason and one reason only, to get from point A to point B. So there's a gap we're trying to solve for, right? We're gap selling. And the problem is point A, the vision is point B. We're trying to help them get from A to B. So that's essentially what you want to do, right? Is understand like if we have a problem to solve, then if we do, then we're going to be able to bridge and pitch and get into the close phase of the call. Now it doesn't need to feel awkward. Now this person's confirmed there's a real genuine problem here. Now we're concerned about helping them solve this problem. And it just becomes a more genuine conversation where it's like we're not necessarily overbuilding rapport and overthinking it too much. It's just as simple as how's it going? Hey, the call's being recorded. Awesome. Where are you based out of? Oh man, nice to meet you, right? It's your tone, your energy, and your body language is the most important thing in that first 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds. If you can just establish like, oh man, I like Sandro. He seems like a cool dude. Oh man, I like Jennifer. She seems awesome. That's all you want. It's literally all you want. Because at the end of the day, like they know it's a sales call. So when you try to overbill report a little bit too much, it creates like a little bit of awkwardness, right? It's a different energy. Like this person is trying really hard as opposed to like they're trying to help me solve my problem and they're a true professional. And honestly, guys, like in sales, what I found is the secret sauce is less is more. So the less you talk, the less you spew features. Like nobody cares about the features. They're there for the benefit, right? They're there for that vision. Is the vision is the benefit, right? And the entire reason they're going to invest with you is to get the benefit. Is to get to that vision. And so keeping it simple and focusing on that is what you want to do. And in the discovery phase of the call, because the way if you follow our structure and our framework, you're going to do a good job extracting all the information that you need so that when you get to the close phase, it's like they've sold you in the discovery phase of the call. Now all you have to do is if they start hesitating or there's objections to handle, all you have to do now is bring back all the stuff that they sold you on of what's the problem? What are the consequences they mentioned if they don't solve the problem, right? What is the why now? Or like, why do they feel like the time is now? So you can use that urgency that they shared with you in the discovery later in the close to tie back the entire, because when it comes time to like, hey man, like giving money. Well, man, it's like most you got to you have to have some empathy. You have to put yourself in the people's shoes, right? And it's like, well, I didn't think it was going to cost $5,000. So it's like, it's just a shocker, sticker shock, right? So it's just like, okay, I totally get it. I understand, right? But again, you got to go back to tying it to why they're on the call and the vision and bring some of that leverage back into the close phase of the call and just say, hey, I totally get it, but that's the exact reason why you're here, right? Is to get from point A to point B essentially. So it is sales is a lot more simple than people make it out to be. Like simple is profound and simple doesn't mean it's easy, but once you get into a spot where you know how every single call is going to go, you already know. Once you get this person, what are the most common things they're going to say, especially if you're selling the same product or service. It's like you're always going to get the same objections. You're always going to get the same stuff coming up. You're always going to get the same concerns, right? So it's like you could get to a spot where you're like, dude, it doesn't matter who shows up. I have this framework. I know exactly what points I need to hit on before I advance the conversation. And if I don't get what I'm looking for, there's not enough pain there, then I'm probably not going to get the sale. So I have to do a better job digging a little bit deeper.